So what are we talking about today? I think the first thing I want to talk about is my one and only complaint of this bike, the fuel economy. The thirst of this Gran Turismo engine, notable and has been notable since the release of this new model back in 21, I think it was. Fantastic engine. I absolutely love the bike. Phenomenal in every way. It's exceeding expectations every time I get on it. Yeah, I don't know if you can see this idiot with the Prius, but that's typical. Anyway, today I'm riding without the panniers because I typically don't have much in them. I use them when we do an overnight trip or so. So I finally got my new tank bag, which I'm not crazy about. It's off kilter a little bit, and that's going to kill my OCD. But I'll deal with it because I do love the convenience. It's a small bag. Right in front of me, it has a little phone window. You can't see my phone too well because I have the screen brightness turned down a little bit. But anyway, getting back to the fuel economy of this thing, that's my one and only complaint. And it has been notable since the dawn of time with this new version of the bike. And it's to be expected. Now, there are lots of comments going on around if you can afford the bike, you should be able to afford the fuel. And I agree with that statement for the most part. However, this is a V4 engine producing 170 horsepower. It's not producing 300 horsepower. I love the power that it has, but let's be realistic about the expectations. 170 is not unheard of. If we compare this to a Toyota Camry, for example, I believe that puts out 205 horsepower from a four-cylinder engine. And granted, it's a 2.5 liter, but that 205 horsepower and 180 some odd foot-pounds of torque is carrying around roughly 3,500 pounds of weight, and it still manages to get better fuel economy than this bike. So, although I agree with the statement in terms of complaints, you can afford the bike, you can afford the fuel, yes, but that still doesn't change the fact that this seems unnaturally thirsty. And again, that's my one and only complaint about this bike. The technology is phenomenal. The comfort is fantastic. Eagerness, the handling, the nimbleness, the lightweight for me, of course, coming from the Indian Chieftain, 300 plus pounds heavier, nice and light, and super capable in terms of handling. I'm really eager to get it off-road. That's one thing I really want to do. We're looking at doing some of that, and I'm looking at taking some off-road specific training to get my skill set in an area that I'm not very familiar with up to par. Now, in terms of improvements, there are a few categories. First being protection of the bike. Things like crash bars, engine guard, aftermarket, Ducati handguards, all those things that are in the realm of protection for the bike. They're nice, they're important, and they're all pricey. So 600 for the crash bars, the bash guard underneath the engine is 300 plus. Hand guards from Ducati are like 190 bucks. It just goes on and on. And when you spend this kind of money, it would be nice if some of that stuff were included. And granted, I know it's included with the Rally, which is probably another $3,000 over the cost of this V4S model. But it's just one expense after another, going deeper down the rabbit hole. Tank bag, all kinds of stuff. You know, I just, there's so many things I've ordered, it's not even funny. And the expense just keeps piling up and piling up. It definitely adds to the bike and the convenience and so on. And I appreciate that. This is definitely more of an expense than I incurred with the Indian. And granted, that one was out the door at about 32 grand with the upgrades that I put on that bike before even taking delivery. Stage 1, Stage 2 cams, some extra convenience items like the heated touring seat, upgraded mirrors, what have you. That bike was not cheap either, and I really wanted to keep my expenses down on this bike. I know that's probably an odd statement for those of you that see this bike as very expensive, which it is. And I have kept the expenses down. It definitely has been less expensive than the Indian, but it's slowly adding up. And it's slowly coming up to par with the expense of the Indian. I guess it's just my tastes. First world problems, right? I'm really blessed, and I definitely count my blessings when it comes to some of the luxury items that I've been able to afford, and one of those definitely being the motorcycles. I'll keep my ranting to a minimum and cut it there. But I do have some things on the way. So I do have the bash guard coming, and I opted to go with the SW Motec engine guard instead of the factory Ducati engine guard. And there were two reasons for that. One, the SW Motec actually comes in the black powder coat, which I would have had to do myself at yet an additional expense. It was actually about $20 to $30 cheaper than the Ducati one, so it seemed like a no-brainer. Get what I wanted in the color I wanted. And the other seeming bonus that I see with the SW Motec is that it looks like it's a one-piece engine guard, whereas from the diagrams and the instructions on the Ducati one, that looks like a two-piece crash guard. Which I'm not sure why that would be. And honestly, I'm not even sure if I'm 100% correct on that, but if anyone is watching this and they know, please feel free to correct me if I'm wrong. Once I get a few more things added to this, I would do a walk around with a rundown of what I selected and why. The one thing I will say, that's a huge positive, I probably hit 1,500 miles on this ride, and I love this bike. It is everything. Everything, absolutely everything. And in the 1,500 miles that I've owned it thus far, it has worked beautifully. No issues, no problems. You know, I incurred a nail in the back tire that I had to have that replaced, but that's not a fault of the bike. Obviously, that's just one of the hazards of riding. Thankfully, I had the wheel and tire insurance. I paid $800 for from the dealer, close to halfway there in terms of the cost of the tire and the labor to have that tire replaced. I knew when I was buying it that it was a worthwhile investment. Since moving to Pennsylvania from my hometown of New York City, I've had many, many issues with tires and wheels, with flats and blowouts and what have you. And I just learned many years ago that it is absolutely worth getting the wheel and tire insurance. When I had my Triumph motorcycle, that was probably the second vehicle that I bought that wheel and tire insurance package. Whenever I buy a vehicle, I'm really happy when a dealership offers that. And they all do that as an upgrade or an upsell, I should say. But I'm grateful because I've used it many times in the past, and I know I'm going to continue to use it. So if you're on the fence and that's something they offer, yes, it is an upsell, but yes, it is absolutely worth it. Unless for some miracle you never get a flat or blowout or damage to your wheel or rim, which I think would be miraculous, then you won't feel like that extra cost, that upsell is worth it. But hey, that's a win-win in my book, right? No headaches, no issues, nothing to deal with, no towing the vehicle to get the tires replaced or the wheels replaced, the downtime that comes with it. You're just enjoying the vehicle, enjoying your bike. But if you do have the insurance and a problem does come up, hey, it's taken care of for you. Anyway, getting back to the Triumph, I did have the wheel and tire insurance on that. And after the stock tires ran out, I replaced them with a new set of tires. And wouldn't you believe it, within the first week of having those new tires mounted, I incurred some damage to the rear tire, which was 300 and change, not including labor. Sure enough, even the replacement tires, they're covered by the wheel and tire insurance. So I had that one covered. Can you imagine the frustration and annoyance with buying a new tire only to have it get damaged within the first week and having to buy yet another tire within a week? Yeah, that would hurt. If you're on the fence, it's worth it. So pull the trigger. Now, let's talk about the Garmin, because that has been working beautifully for me. Ducati Connect. I think I said that in the first vlog. Not great. For some reason, I have it on now just because I wanted to see how it worked with the phone in the tank bag. And that's working fine. But I do want to just test to see what the heat of the phone is like being in the tank bag and away from that little pocket in the tank itself. Seems like the sweet zone is 5,000 to 6,000 RPM on this thing. But as a former cruiser rider, that is strange. I think maybe I'll jump on the highway up here. Stretch my legs a little bit. Hopefully I won't hit any commuter traffic by doing that. On 295, maybe I'll head to New Hope. I always like riding by the river. It's simple joy for me. See, not paying attention. stalled out at the light. Probably pissed off the drivers behind me who couldn't make the left turn while I got my shit together. Anyway. Stretching the legs, baby. Stretch the legs. I'm also toying with the angle of this GoPro on my helmet. I want it to my chin bar. Trying to get something that shows the view in front. It shows the bike as well. That's why I like to use these weekday rides as experimentation. So that way when we're on the more serious, thorough rides on the weekends, hopefully I have my act together. The videos look a little professional and polished. Let's say it's a nice temperature, it says 77 degrees. A little bit of shade from the cloud coverage. I just really enjoy riding by this scenic river. Yeah, this slightly skewed tank bag is going to annoy the crap out of me. I'm gonna have to try and figure out how to correct that. I don't know if the spring ring that locks the bag into place can be adjusted. But I do love the fact I'm running the USB hub with the outlet running into the back of the bag. So I'm going to be able to charge my GoPro batteries, my phone, my Insta batteries. I've got an extra cable, or recharge my center devices. Again, the pricing is just absurd. $100+ for the USB thing, $150+ for the bag itself. Then the ring to mount it on the tank is an extra 20 some odd dollars. Just, it's stupid is what it is. This stuff shouldn't cost that much. But I definitely really wanted this to keep a nice, convenient bag and ride without the panniers on the bike. When there's a need for storage, like an overnight trip, I will be putting the panniers back on. But until that need, I'm not going to bother with that. I do want to get a tail bag for the back seat for overnighters as well, for a little bit of extra storage. Why are you slowing down? Oh, that's why. I believe in keeping the weight of the vehicle down. Again, that was the main reason I went with a different style bike after having that beautiful Indian Chieftain. That thing was just too heavy. As beautiful as it is, I can never go back to those heavy beasts. This bike is extremely comfortable, even at my height of 6'2". My friend Dustin says the same, and he's 6'4"-ish. Let's just get a quick view here. I'm at the boat launch. I was going to do a little jet skiing. Oh, water party. Got my name all over it. Alright, back on the road, different angle for the Insta. I do like that drone angle, just not crazy about the bouncing effect. But yeah, I definitely got a long way to get to that pedal, brake pedal from standing position. I definitely got to work on that. But probably better than that will be to just get that extension pedal so you can have the best of both worlds. So that's next on my list. I'm probably going to pull up into a parking lot up ahead just so I can practice some maneuvers. Because what else have I got to do? Washington Crossing, Historic Park. And I will end this lazy, crappy, good for nothing, boring vlog here. But stay tuned. Hopefully I can come up with some more interesting vlog topics for the future. That is, if you haven't already decided to jump ship. But I appreciate your time, and I'll catch you on the next more interesting vlog.